Welcome. Good evening, everybody, to Everyday Celebrity Media News. We have an exclusive. This is an exclusive interview. Normally we're live, but I'm not going to do it live because of time differences and shit. But we have an exclusive guest interview today with one of the top up and coming tattoo artists in Portland. She's a woman on the rise. She is a gypsy. She's a fashion icon. She is a model. She is a all-around badass, beautiful woman that I think the world should know about. So we're going to talk to her. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest. Her name is Lee Rose. That's the theatrics. You can hear me?
Me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
So,
Thanks for having me on.
yes. It's been a minute, and it's been kind of difficult to get in contact with you or to set this up.
This is true. This is
Yes,
true.
yes,
I've
yes.
been very sick recently, unfortunately, in and out of the hospital with a kidney infection for the last week and a half. So
Oh yeah.
kind of just on the mends from that and recovering and taking it really easy. So I appreciate your flexibility with the interview for sure.
Okay, well that's cool. Well, you're definitely worth the wait, and I think you
Thank
are
you.
a very interesting human being.
Thank
So
you.
let's. I don't know, where should we start. I think you have like a crazy life.
I feel like I
Right?
did more so when I was younger. Now I'm kind of like just an old grandma lady. I keep to my
Yeah.
house and I make my art. And I grow plants, and that's pretty much it.
So you started off in, well, when we met, you were living in the Bay Area, right?
Yes. So when we met, I was living in Oakland. I think in total, I was down there for 4 years. Um, but I'm originally from Oregon.
Uh,
Born in San Francisco, but grew up in Oregon, and then went to Oakland to live as a young adult in my early 20s. Came back to Oregon about 5 years ago for family reasons, to help my mother take care of her mother. And so I've kind of been in the Pacific Northwest since then.
okay. Now, when you came to Oakland from Oregon, where in Oregon were you?
Portland predominantly, and I also grew up on the coast.
Okay. Now, was it like a culture shock when you came to Oakland? Because you go from
You know,
Portland to where it's like all white and like open carry state and all that shit, hillbillies. I mean, well,
mm-hmm.
Portland's not like that, right?
Well, so Portland's a little bit more progressive, a little bit more liberal, but I did grow up on the coast, which is a very rural, Republican, hillbilly area, if you will. Love the people and love the environment, but the politics are a little bit off for me, to say the least.
Yeah. So was it like a culture shock when you came to Oakland, seeing
Yeah,
all these
so
black people in like artsy scene and
So yes and no. I did come from an art scene in Portland, and I've always kind of had a diverse friend group, no matter what. I like to be inclusive as much as possible, and really just base people on the merit of their character, not the color of their skin or their gender or whatever preference they may have. But yeah, Oakland was definitely a shock in a lot of ways. It's a very live and vibrant and raw city. Lots of energy, lots of sunlight. I honestly prefer living in Oakland over Portland, and would be probably living down there currently if it wasn't for my family situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So your family situation is what again? You have to take care of.
Just my Yeah, I'm helping my mother is taking care of my grandmother who's has dementia and Alzheimer's currently.
Mm,
So I've kind of just been up here as support for her, and then kind of found my routine. Led me to tattoo school, and have kind of now put down roots here a little bit more firmly than I guess I initially had wanted to, but
yeah.
life happens that way, I guess.
So your plans initially were to come back to Oakland.
Yeah, initially definitely. And I mean, I might even still, I definitely know that I don't want to completely nest in the Pacific Northwest. New Orleans and Brooklyn, New York are also on my radar pretty heavily right now, as well as Germany might be a future thing. But Oakland will always have like such a dear place in my heart for so many reasons. I really found like I found my flair and my voice there. A lot of my really good friends still live down there, amazing artists and musicians. And, you know, I'm always very much called to be down there, but different circumstances have led me to
Yeah.
be up in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it. So what are some of the things that you were doing far as creatively and work wise when you were in Oakland?
So in Oakland, I was kind of a behind the scenes manager. I helped a good friend of mine, Rachel Wolf Goldsmith, in her early art career, just being, you know, an assistant admin and helping her set up her shows, doing artist bios and write ups and kind of dialing in contracts for her and a couple other artists at the time. Through the art scene down there, I kind of got more into modeling, which when I was younger, even though I'm a very tall woman, was never an appeal to me. But then in Oakland, it was just such an artistic vibe. You know, you'd go to a set and everything was handmade and everything was so detail oriented and always just so fun. So I kind of found like little modeling steez in there. But I was really writing a
Yeah,
lot of
your modeling
poetry.
pictures are amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. I need to actually do new shoots now that I think it's been about like 4 years since I've had a serious modeling shoot. So I definitely need to get my portfolio back up and kicking.
Yeah. Did you enjoy modeling?
I do. Definitely under specific circumstances. I don't think I could ever be like, or sorry, I don't think I could ever be a commercial model. But definitely working with friends on more like artistically or idea driven concepts, I
Mm,
find a lot of, you know, empowerment and fun in.
okay. Who were some of the? I mean, give me a story of like the best time you had at a shoot, and then give me a story of a shoot that you like literally regretted going to.
Okay, so there was one in Oakland, and I was shooting with a photographer. Shoot, I forget his last name. His first name's Kyle, but he was doing Intuvision photography at the time, and I was kind of helping him with his company. Anyway, we'd set up the studio to do an interview or a dance video for another group of people. When they were done, the lighting and everything was set up, and I was kind of like, screw it, and grabbed some books and my glasses and what I was wearing. And we just took some really random candid photos. He got a lot of really good photos of me speaking poetry actively and got still shots of that. And just like the frames that we got out of that set are so like inanimate. Like I'm very much in my element and my posturing and my facial expressions, everything was just really fun and really organic about that. And I'd have to say, like on the fly and plan, that's probably one of the funnest shoots I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
There was one I did up in Portland when I first kind of was moving back. I think I was up here visiting. And I got hooked up with this photographer. I'm not going to name any names because it wasn't like, you know, a sketchy situation, but I go to this guy's place or whatever, and it's like, it's a topless photo shoot, kind of artsy, black and white. I'm supposed to be smoking cigarettes. And the shoot was fine, but we were in his apartment. And so the whole time I felt kind of awkward. And I am a little socially awkward, especially if I don't know someone to begin with anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just felt like the whole shoot was kind of pushed. And then at the end of it, he like kind of creepily asked me out on a date. And I was just really turned off by the whole thing. I was already like topless, which in that type of setting should remain completely professional. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm in this very vulnerable position with like physical nudity. And then at the end of it, you know, we're getting ready to close the set down. Sorry. And he kind of like tried to ask me out on a date. And I think that was one of the more awkward or off putting experiences that I ever had.
Did you say no?
Of course I said no.
Does
I'm also like,
was
yeah,
it just
go
you and
ahead.
him in the shoot?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
So it was just, he was like building his portfolio, you know, so it was a paid gig
Yeah.
for me to come in and like pretty much be completely directed with no creative direction, like personally. And yeah, it was just like in his very private house or apartment, you know, so it's like the whole thing, like I was there on a professional like tip, but at the end of it, it was kind of like, okay, we're in your house. I'm half naked. you're giving me money and now you're asking me out. It just like all felt weird. You know what I mean? And like,
Mm.
yeah, it was just, and I left and it was fine. And he was totally respectful when I said like declined his advances or whatever. But I just think I felt really weird about it.
Yeah.
Like it was just like why put that out there? Like,
Does that
I don't
type
know.
of situation happen a lot to you and to a lot of people in the modeling, like when you're in the modeling
I will
industry
have to
like that?
say there's always an element as an attractive female, no matter what industry you're in, where you're going to deal with sexual circumstances, whether it's, you know, verbal or physical, like sexual harassment in the workplace is very real and it's a very wide spectrum. So and whatever your comfortability with it is too. So it's like sometimes I might be talking smack and that might be misconstrued as like, I don't know, kind of playing along or whatever. But other times it's like if I have a hard line there, um, then I really get uncomfortable if that line is crossed. But I guess long story long to your question is yes, pretty much every female I've ever encountered, whether we're friends or just acquaintances, has had some type of sexual harassment experience in whatever workplace she's been in, modeling included.
Knowing that and experiencing that, does that deter you from like taking like gigs where they like requesting you to be nude, and or like gigs where it's only you and one photographer in a private area?
So my screening process is pretty hefty at this point in time. I'm also not modeling currently, but at the end of it, I definitely like if it was just supposed to be me and a photographer, I would always have a girlfriend come with me. And you just kind of have to be really conscientious when you're in the interview process, when you're emailing back and forth and setting the gig up and really just follow your gut and like what your intuition tells you about a gig. I think is kind of, at least in my mind, how I've steered clear of a lot of more unfortunate situations and really just had a good time with it. I also predominantly work with friends of mine though, too. So there's already kind of a safe space, a comfortability and a familiarness there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. When was your first like actual paid shoot for modeling?
Let's see. I want to say I was like 19 or 20 years old and it was in Portland. And it was just really low brow. My girlfriend was making clothes and doing upcycling at the time. And she was kind of like, hey, you want to come hang out and I'll buy you lunch and I'll give you like $50 and you can try on some fits and I'll take photos of you on my like little dinky camera. And I was like, yeah, sure, no worries.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I ended up posting a couple photos from that shoot and it kind of just like snowballed after that. People would approach me and be like, hey, will you shoot with me? And then I'm also, you can't tell right now I'm sitting down, but I'm about 6'1", standing flat footed. And so even going out to clubs or parties or being, in the art scene, people would come up and be like, oh my gosh, like, do you model? Like, here's my card, or like, let's do something together just because
Yeah.
of my stature.
So you normally work with friends. Is that the best thing that you like about modeling? Being able to like help out friends, or what? What's your favorite thing about
Yeah.
modeling?
I think my favorite thing about modeling specifically as an art form is that you get to capture an evocation of emotion. Like in a snapshot, you can host so many different emotional variables or like tell a story, and it's just one image. And one image can be incredibly powerful if it's done correctly and if it's done from the heart, whether it's cultural fashion, whether it's a political statement, whether it's an artistic idea or philosophical concept. I really like the idea that you can capture a moment in time that can host so much emotion.
Mm,
And then, yeah, working with friends always just, it makes it fun and light and easy.
okay. All right. So you were born in Oregon. You moved to Oakland. What was your life like growing up in Oregon?
So I was a child of three. I'm the oldest sibling. I have two younger brothers. My mother was a single working mom. And we grew up in a really small town. So I graduated from a high school class of about 64. And we were
Damn.
like the largest class to graduate in a really long time in my high school. Yeah. band in high school,
Was it
man.
like one of those towns where
uh,
like everybody fucking knows everybody? Everyone's like,
yeah. Oh
oh,
yeah.
everyone dated
So
everyone at once and shit.
so bad. Oh yeah. Pretty. Yeah. Exactly. Which it made it fun. Like the whole high school was kind of friends in one way or another. So it's like you'd sneak out and go to like one of those high school parties, and it would literally almost be the entire school, and then everyone was
Yeah.
kind of in on it together when you'd come back on Monday, which kind of made a camaraderie in a lot of ways. And yeah, it was a I really liked my middle school, high school years. The groups of friends I had, the experiences. Yeah, I would say I had a very good adolescence, very experimental and eye-opening
Mhm.
adolescence.
Would you say that you changed from the girl you were in high school, or you basically the same?
I've really been the same broad since I was like 3 years old, I think. Like I've definitely become wiser, more intelligent, more aware of myself and my surroundings. But the stoic, like my internal dialogue has for the most part remained the same. A lot of my interests and my ideas, both philosophically, politically, and socially, have remained the same in a lot of ways, just expanded with new information. So I wouldn't say I've changed that much. I'm just a more experienced, more refined version of myself.
Yeah. Okay. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2010.
Okay. Okay. Now after you graduated, what did you do? What did you end up doing?
So I graduated from Bandon High School and immediately enrolled in Clackamas Community College for sound engineering and recording production.
Hmm.
Um, and I was on track I wanted to be a studio engineer and, mix and master and engineer albums. Um, Within the first couple and I was looking at the amp rack. I'd never seen an amp rig set up to DJ turntables or like a digital setup like that. So I was kind of nerding out, taking a little notes, and I ended up talking to a guy that was a lighting tech, and I got recruited into lighting. So I did lighting and stage design, and kind of dropped out of college. And that's where I really met my first core group of friends. A lot of them actually I moved to Oakland with when we moved down together in
Hmm.
2000 at the end of 2012, beginning of 2013.
Okay. Okay. And the reason for you moving to Oakland was what again? The first thing?
Well, my best friend Rachel was down there, and she'd been scoping the place out. She kept being like, Lee, like I really want you to move down here with me. And I was in a relationship at the time that I thought, I was 19, 20, going on 21, so I thought I was
Yeah.
all in love, all sorts of in
Thought
love.
it was gonna last
And
forever.
yeah, 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 exactly. And then that went down. So my girl was in Oakland, and I gave her a call, crying or whatever. And I was like, I don't think it's gonna work. I don't know where like to go. I don't want to go back to Bandon to like regroup. I also don't want to be in Portland anymore, because me and my partner at that time had all the same friends. So just be like seeing each other over and over and over. I
Yeah,
needed a
yeah.
reset. And she was like, dude, I got you, and drove up literally the next day to pick me up. She's like, pack the most like valuable things that you want to take with you. She's like, I'll be there tomorrow, and drove from Oakland to pick me up to drive back down to Oakland. It was like such a sister moment. It was freaking
Yeah.
awesome. Shout out Rachel Wolf.
You remember the first bar you went to when you came to Oakland?
Yes, I do. Oh shoot, though I've been trying to remember the name of this bar. I think for like the last month and a half. I keep trying to tell stories about it, but it's a little joint up in Berkeley actually, and they used to do $5 whiskey specials. It's like $5 for a well whiskey and a Pabst, like a tall boy Pabst.
Yeah.
Um, and we went to that bar quite often. But I will have to say that my favorite bar in Oakland is the Van Cleef.
The Van Cleef? Okay.
Yeah, I love the Van Cleef. It's like so weird.
Is it because of the way it looks on the inside or what?
I like the knickknacks. I was also told that the man that owns the place like was a world traveler and collected all those knickknacks from like his travels, which I always found very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just like the whole like setup of it. And every time you go, they also pour some amazing drinks. They're grapefruit. I want to call them foghorns, like
I
vodka
have no
grapefruit
idea.
drinks. They do like
I know
fresh
what you're
squeezed
talking about, but
grapefruit.
it's like what they're known
Yeah,
for, right?
yeah, exactly. Oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
All right, so you leave Oakland for the second
Mhm.
time. Was it the second time when this time when you went back to Portland?
So what kind of ended up happening is I was down in Oakland, um, and then I also had an apartment in LA at the very end of it, and that kind of fell through. I moved back to Oakland for a time, and I ended up going on this trip to Oregon, and I ended up getting really sick. And so I kind of stayed. Like my ride went back to Oakland, and I kind of stayed. I got a lot of family up here, or whatever. And then when I kind of got better, I had this conversation with my mom, and she's like, you know, your Grammy, we're starting to get worried about her. I was like, okay, okay. So I moved up to Portland, and I was up in Portland for maybe about a month or two, and then ended up in Southern Oregon for about 9 months. Went
Okay.
back to Portland, went down to Northern California for another 9 months, and then went back to Portland and stayed in Portland since like January, I want to say 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. But there
So
was like a, yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say there was like a year and a half period there where I was kind of like I had stuff in Oakland, I had stuff in Portland, I was in Northern California, I was in South, like I was just kind of all over the place for like
Yeah.
maybe about 15, 16 months.
Were you enjoying that time of your life, like traveling or just like moving, or basically not having a cemented area to stay, or did you
Yes and
not
no.
enjoy that?
At that time, I was also working in the cannabis industry. So I was, trimming on the mountain a lot, which is a very like inclusive job. It's like you take all of your stuff, you go up there, you normally stay from anywhere from a week to a month, and that's like your life. You like sit and you trim, and maybe at the end of the night, you'll draw some sketches or you write some things in your notebook. And as much as I like being in nature. I like the freedom. I really like being on the road. I got really tired at the end of that. I was really ready to nest when it was time for me to like come home and be home.
Mm,
Um, and that just happened to be Portland at that time.
okay. So now you are one of the top up and coming tattoo artists in Portland.
I
And
mean, yeah.
now, what got you
In my own
into
mind.
what got you into tattooing?
um, I really like the idea that you make a permanent piece of art on someone's skin. It's permanent for their lifetime that becomes impermanent upon their death and kind of like goes back to the earth. The idea of storytelling and helping people be comfortable in their skin and the ability to travel and to experience art and storytelling through tattooing was a very huge appeal to me. So kind of that perfect storm, that trifecta of like philosophy and art and travel. And I was kind of like, oh, this is a perfect vocation to learn to have. I mean, even if I don't pursue it hardcore, even just as a side hustle on a back burner, I could take a tattoo kit with me and be like, hey, yeah, I can tattoo and maybe hopefully meet some cool people. So,
Yeah.
um, I've always just been a creative. I'm not painting has always been more difficult for me just because my attention span. I get really discouraged about halfway through a canvas before it really turns magic. But with tattooing, they're smaller pieces, and you rework the piece so many times from from conceptual drafting to actual tattoo application. Um, it's just a much more comfortable process for me.
So you went from modeling, which is predominantly a female ran industry, to tattooing, which is a more male dominated industry. What are some of the struggles that you had to deal with in the tattoo industry as a woman?
Well, I will have to say, for the first 3 years that I really really knew I wanted to tattoo. I tried to find apprenticeships because at that time that's what I knew to do. Come to find out a couple years down the road that in Oregon you actually have to pay to go to school. You have to take like a 6 month to a year long program to get a vocational certificate from the state, the Board of Electrologists in Oregon. But I was back and forth from Cali, and in my mind, I needed to find an apprentice anyway, or someone to apprentice under. Anyway, I went through about two.
So do you In order to be a tattoo artist, you have to start as an apprentice.
Industry standard, yes. Now, don't get me wrong, there are amazing tattoo artists that just went for it, that bought the machine, bought the equipment, and spent hours, tattooing themselves, tattooing on friends, like, and really dialed in good technique, good craftsmanship that way. But traditionally speaking, it is very much a mentor apprentice industry. That is how you get jobs. That's how you get credibility. And yeah, about the first the three people that I tried to mentee under, all men, all also amazing artists, but when it came down to it, it was really just trying to, ask me out on a date or get close to me. And I'm I'm a very outspoken female. Like when it comes down to work, if I ever catch any vibe, I put it on the table immediately. Like, hey, I'm here for work. This is what I'm passionate about. Like, I'm not into any tomfoolery. I'm not going to
Yeah.
suck your dick to get a job. Like, I'm here to be who I am, not to be like some female lackey. So I always take a lot of offense when I've laid that out. And this is what happened is like I had laid that out for all three of these people. And at the end of the day, it was kind of like they were just trying to weasel their way into being close to me. And I got, really discouraged by that because in my mind, I'm like all passionate and excited about doing this art form and like really trying to learn and really putting in the hours and doing like the practices and stuff. And then, to just be like, oh, well, I don't want to mentor you anymore because you don't want to go out with me. It's always kind of just like really discouraging because it's like, oh, wait, but like I thought I was here based on the merit of my art, not the merit of my face.
So these
Um,
guys these guys ended the apprenticeship because they couldn't go out with you.
well, I did.
Oh, you did.
They
Okay.
asked, it got awkward, and I was like, you know what, I really don't want to work with you under the precedent of, you know, you trying to hook up with me and me being here for the art. But come to find out, like 2 years ago, that in Oregon you actually pay to get certified, um, and so that was a nice shortcut, like a segue for me. I could pay a lump sum of money to go
Mhm.
to school for an amount of time to get certified by the state. And I was kind of like, screw it, man. This is it. Like, I can go do that. I don't have to worry about any of that sexual aggression at all. And once I was kind of in the school program, everyone was super mellow, like men and women. Everyone's been really supportive, um, very encouraging. So, although like the way Oregon goes about certifying their tattoo artists is kind of what's the word? It's kind of taboo in the traditional tattoo industry. I'm very appreciative for the schooling system just because of the sexual harassment that I personally encountered when I was trying to apprentice under individuals, under different artists.
Mm. Did you try to apprentice under any women?
I did not. I mean, so I filled out about 10 applications to women over the course of, maybe 7 to 10 months, when I was really gung ho about trying to find a mentor. And I heard back from maybe 3% of them. And it always kind of just fell through. Or, I was also, like we've already spoken about, kind of like very transient at the time. I didn't really know where I wanted to land or where I wanted to live. So, like, one of those opportunities fell through because of that. And the majority of them were just people being like, hey, I don't have the time or the capacity right now to take anyone on. Like, I really appreciate what you're trying to do and that you're trying to learn, but I just can't do it for you right now. So you always kind of got to go through the weeds whenever you like really want to, learn anything. And it's not that I didn't seek females out. It just like, it never lined up for me.
Mm. Now,
I will have to, oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say, I will have to say now, though, that I have been certified, I would like to try to find an understudy with a female tattoo artist where I can even go in further and do additional education and further learning and really hone in my technique. And when I do that process for myself, I will be searching for a woman to hone my skills under.
Now, when you say apprenticeship, explain to the people who really don't know shit about tattoos and what you're talking about. Explain what apprenticeship is,
Yeah.
how long it lasts, like the process and all that, if you
So an
can.
apprenticeship, yeah, of course. So it's all kind of loose. It's really just determined on your circumstance, who your mentor is, and what state you're in. So as a general rule of thumb, an apprenticeship will be anywhere from 2 years to 5 years. Um, and you'll work under someone. And for the first like year, really year and a half, you just do the grunt work at the shop. You know, you'll clean the shop, you'll run the tubes, you'll do the autoclave, you'll set up stations, you'll help people press stencils. Um, you won't really even touch a machine kit until, you know, your second year. As a general rule of thumb, again, everyone's situation is kind of different, and the tattoo industry is drastically changing currently as well. But yeah, so traditionally in tattoo, you'll take on an apprenticeship for 2 to 5 years, and you'll learn how to run the shop, you'll learn how to work the shop, you'll learn how to like a sterile technique, you'll have to get bloodborne pathogens and like CPR training, and then you learn how to actually use the machines and tattoo on skin.
Mm. So are you like, even though you're doing that, are you like practicing at home on people? Are you allowed to?
I So in Oregon, no, I'm not. I'm absolutely not supposed to tattoo out of my house. Have I? Yes. um, but I've also tattooed on myself a lot for practice in my own home,
Mm.
and very, very close friends. Currently, I have a private studio. I rent a room out of an active artist workspace. So I'm an appointment on like by appointment only tattoo artist. I work out of a very small studio down in Northwest Portland, and so that's where all my gear is right now. But if I wanted to get a hair at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I was like, I'm gonna go tattoo a rose on my ankle, like I could
Yeah.
totally go down there and do it. Will I? Probably not.
Okay. What tattoo shop do you work at currently now?
So it's just the private studio that I have.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I'm completely self-sustained. I rent a room out of an artist co-op.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I book through email and through Instagram currently, and yeah, take one client a day max, especially during the COVID thing. And it's just like a really personal setting, one-on-one. And I've been calling my shop Pens and Needles, but there's no official like shop name or title for
Now, since you brought up COVID, has
it.
COVID with the tattoo industry, has COVID like slowed down the tattoo industry, or the tattoo industry just found ways to
Right.
like do private shit behind the fucking
I mean, I think
FDA
both.
rules and shit?
I think tattooers have always been pirates. I think that's a huge reason, honestly, I was really drawn to the industry in the first place. Um, Up in Oregon, we've been going through a couple different, like multiple lockdowns. Initially, they completely shut tattoo shops down. I think it was for 5 months.
Mm.
So from like February into June, most shops were closed, as well as salons and different things. Then they opened up about I want to say like late June, July, but don't quote me on those dates. And we're in our second lockdown now, but tattoo shops are still going, but they are appointment only, no walk-ins. Everyone is trying to be super safe and super conscientious, all of the PPE gear and the masks, and limiting, your client to just them, no guests, different things, going through screening processes, taking people's fever temperature checks that come into shops. What I've seen both through online presence and through my friends that work at studios and shops in Portland is a high attention to detail and care for people's health as far as continuing tattooing during this pandemic.
Mm. Okay. Um, we all know that Portland is known for tattoos. Like when you meet women from
Yeah,
when you meet women from Portland, they usually are covered in tattoos. So when you go to strip
this is
clubs,
true.
the strippers are all covered in
Yes.
tattoos. So,
Yeah.
which is nice. It's very lovely. So,
I love my strippers. I love my strippers in this city. I really do. God
I
bless them.
mean, I also do too, actually. So when I say this, is tattooing like a very competitive business? Do like different shops have beef with other shops? Do people try to steal clients from other people? Do people hate on other people? Do women fight like hate on other, like try not to help you because you're a woman, you want to be the only woman in the shop? Do you see a lot of this?
I haven't seen any of that. Everyone, so I'm not really specifically personally in the tattoo shop culture.
Mm.
mostly worked as an independent artist this entire time outside of going to the school, like the shop to go to school. Um, but what I have seen in this city, you know, and the tattoo artists that I know, everyone is pretty damn supportive of each other. You know, there might be a beef here or there, you know, sparsely scattered, but in general, people really kind of look out for one another. And, you know, I don't think there's a lot of poaching. So poaching is when you might steal a client from another tattoo artist. I want to say there's not a lot of poaching in this city, but because I'm not a part of shop culture, I can't like verifiably make that statement. Um, but the tattooers that I know that I've met and the shops that I have been in and around, everyone's super supportive and, you know, really welcoming and open and kind of just like, fuck yeah, dude, you're doing it. Like, go get it.
Nice. I mean, that's good to hear. So,
Yeah.
during you were in Portland during the past like whole Black Lives Matter and all this shit that was going on.
Yeah.
What was the climate like? Because I mean, everyone who wasn't in Portland, we were seeing it on TV. That you had I mean, Trump was talking about sending the National Guard, and then
They did.
the people in
They did.
they did.
Oh yeah, they sent the National Guard here 100%.
And then people in Portland took over that area of downtown, I believe. I
Mm-hmm.
was in Portland like literally the day before all that shit started, and then I left and drove up to
Yeah,
Washington. I was right downtown too, so I missed it by a day.
we're just by a hair. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. So the first week,
how was the atmosphere during that
dude, it
time?
was crazy. It was really volatile for months, even not even just that first week, but for like the whole summer, you know. And even now, like a lot of the activist groups have still been pushing and really, really involved and helping the community in different ways and standing up for what's right. But yeah, that first week, and I'd say even carried through all through summer, it was crazy up here. You couldn't go downtown, you know, at night really, unless you wanted to and you were like down to go do that.
Yeah,
When you were there, it's like things would be peaceful to an extent, and then all of a sudden, you know, someone would throw some tear gas in the crowd, and people would disperse, and things would get crazy. But coming, like being from the city and knowing the history of Oregon and Portland specifically, and to see how active the city has been during this movement has been really inspiring because Oregon and Portland have a very racist history and background. And so to see so many people, both people of color and white allies, come out to support this movement and really go as hard as they did and hard as they are currently still has just been really, really inspiring.
mm,
But definitely living here, you know, I mean, and I was down there, first week I was down there, second week I was down there. And then I've kind of taken breaks and really just donated money from behind the scenes just because I mean I just got really anxious about the whole scene for a second. You know, another part of it was the state went up in fire. So like there was a week at I want to say like the end of July, beginning of August, where it's like the protests were happening, you know, the state was burning down. It was like everything was in disarray and crazy. You'd hear sirens on every corner you went down. That's kind of simmered out for the most part.
yeah.
But yeah, I've never seen this city so alive in my entire life and so unified in my
How's the
entire.
atmosphere there now?
Huh?
I said, how's the atmosphere there now? Is it like still like
I
protests
mean,
here and there?
it's they're still doing protests. I mean, yeah, I want to even say on MLK Day they had a couple. There's a lot of fundraising. There's a lot of, you know, community outreach for the homeless, for medical aid, for housing relief for people. People are still going really, really hard.
Okay, nice. All right, so what are some of the things that you're working on currently besides growing your tattoo business that you want to talk about or promote?
Well, so I have the tattoo business. That's really it currently. I've been really focused on just advancing my art and advancing my tattoo practice.
Mm.
I've also become a mycologist to a certain degree. Been really
Wait.
enjoying growing
What is that?
growing mushrooms. Been growing some like
Wait. What
medicinal.
did you say? You
I've been
a
I've been also
mycologist?
enjoying mycologist.
What
Yeah,
is that? What
it's
does that mean?
so, so it's someone that studies mushrooms, fungus,
Oh,
mycology. hmm I use that term lightly. I'm not a mycologist. I'm not a scientist, but I've been having a lot of fun just doing little home projects with medicinal
Mm,
mushrooms and kicking it with those guys, making some dope tea.
nice.
That's been a really fun thing.
These are the
And
mushrooms that
then
like you get high off of, right?
no, they're more like the reishi and the cordyceps, like the medicinal ones, not the
Oh, okay.
psychedelic ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Although, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have been known to imbibe in the psychedelics as well, but yeah. So
Uh,
that's been really fun as just like a little side project, plant stress relief. And then recently my partner got a dog, so there's been a lot of outside adventures, which I'm a big nature fan.
mm,
But yeah, as far as like personal professionalism and growth, it's really just been about that tattoo hustle. And I try to do quality over quantity. So every piece I do, I try to take like a lot of care and work into it. And when I'm not tattooing on skin, I'm definitely like in a notebook trying to get better at whatever specific like style or genre I'm into, that
yeah.
like my flavor of the week, you know what I mean?
Do you have a specific style that you are really
So
good at?
I prefer heavy black work and script. I've been really getting into lettering, type font, and script designs, and then ornamental black work.
Okay.
And you can find all of that on the Instagram.
Yes, yes. Up at the
I was like,
top of
wait,
the
there it is,
screen.
there it is, there it is.
So, I guess I mean, yeah, you already gave out your Instagram, but do you have anything else you want to give out to where people can contact you about booking or like booking an appointment, or like if they want to book you for like modeling, or if there's anywhere on the internet where they can go see your modeling pictures, or tell the
So
people.
my modeling, everything about my modeling is down right now currently. I do have a private Instagram account that has old modeling photos on it, but it's more for like my meme shit posting and like, funny remarks and anything else.
Yeah.
And then any information or outreach that someone might need to find would all be on my Instagram profile, right in the description, like the profile description. And that has my email address. And you can also reach me through the DMs on Instagram. I'm currently in pre production for my website. So that'll go live hopefully in the next couple months. Hopefully.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've really just been taking it slow and doing more word of mouth type of stuff, and tattooing friends of friends and friends of friends and friends, and kind of like growing it really grassroots like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to doing a lot of like online marketing and outreach branding. But I do think the time is nigh and I should probably get more digitized for sure.
Okay. Well, Lee Rose, thank you very much for
Yeah,
gracing
thanks, Jordan.
us with your presence. It was very good talking to you again.
You too.
Yeah,
It's good seeing you.
I gotta come up to Portland and see you and say
Yes,
hi.
you do.
I think
Yeah, we got to hit the strip club.
yeah, I think we missed each other like the last couple of times I was out there.
I know, I know. Yeah, I know. We definitely got to hang out.
Yeah, but yeah, everyone, go if you are interested in tattoos. This is the woman. If you're in the Portland
Thank
area,
you.
this is the woman to go see. She is up and coming, and she might be really, really famous one day. And you can say I was one of her earliest clients. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully you can do something on me when I see you.
Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be super dope. We should
Yeah.
definitely do that.
But once again, thank you for joining. This is Everyday Celebrity Media
Thank
News.
you.
And Rose, I will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Jordan. You have a
Uh,
great night.
yeah, you too. Bye.
Ciao.
Well, that was Lee Rose, a very, very up and talented woman located in the Portland area. She is a tattoo artist. She's a model. She's a badass. Go look her up on Instagram. Her Instagram is right there if you just want to talk to her, book her, or whatever. This was Everyday Celebrity Media News exclusive interview. And thank you once again. Check us out, everydaycelebritymedia.com. Check out Everyday Celebrity Podcast on all platforms or wherever you listen to podcasts. 2021, be on the watch out for the No Filter podcast. And we have a surprise coming up pretty soon in the year where Everyday Celebrity Media Company is launching Everyday Celebrity Media Music Group. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you once again. Peace.